Hi, this is Rock. We're going to look at the functions for columns and rows. And to do this, I'm going to start by putting in a sequence array. All right. I'm going to make this a little more visible by selecting all with clicking on that and then double clicking here. Okay, so we've got a big set of data here. All right, we know that there were 256 rows and 120 columns here, but pretend you didn't know that. Pretend you had a set of data and you wanted to know how many columns and rows were here. Well, you can use the columns function to count the columns. So I'm going to type columns, and note there are two column related functions here. The first one returns the column number of a reference. That's not what we're talking about. We're trying to count the number of columns. So that's this one that has the S on the end of it. So returns the number of columns in an array or reference. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Tab. And then what I'm going to do is select this whole array by clicking on it and then using the Control-Shift-Arrow method that I talked about in a previous video. Control-Shift, arrow to the right, arrow down while still holding Control and Shift. I'm going to close the parentheses and that counts my number of columns. If I want to know the number of rows, I can use the rows function, and again, there are going to be a couple of rows related functions here. The one that does not have the S tells us the row number of a reference, but this one is the one we're looking for right now. It tells us the number of rows in a reference. I'm going to go ahead and hit Tab, and then again I'm going to select this whole array, and then I'm going to close it with a parenthesis and then hit Enter, and it says 256 rows, which is exactly what we would expect. You can use rows and columns to analyze your data to see how much is there. We're going to get into several functions next that have to do with counting. Count, count A, and count blank. So we'll be looking at that next. See you there.